Hi everyone. Thanks for taking yourself away from lunch to come and join this session. Just before we start, if you want to submit any questions for Q&A, you need to go to the Audience With tab in Slido, and you can submit questions through there for the session at the end of the day. Thanks for joining. This is a session on cloud governance and cost control. My name is Luke. I'm an Azure Specialist here at Softcat. My day-to-day role is I help our customers through their whole cloud journey. So everything from defining strategy and drivers at the beginning of their cloud journey, through migration, and then help them with kind of optimization once they're developed in the cloud. I'm joined on stage today by Josh Owens and Adam Grant, and I'll pass over to those guys now for an introduction.
Cool, thanks, Luke. So I'm Adam Grant. I head up the cloud intelligence team at Softcat. So that's our FinOps function. So we support customers with everything to do with cloud cost management and governance. I've been at Softcat for 5 years, but I've been on this team running this service for about 3.5 years. And looking forward to talking to you about it.
Yeah, hi everyone, Josh Owens. I'm a cloud intelligence specialist at Softcat. So my role is I work with customers to understand their challenges around cloud governance and cost control, and then work with our account teams to align a services solution to support customers moving forward.
Cool, thanks guys. This session all about cloud governance and cost control. We're also going to be delving into how that fits into like a wider FinOps framework, and most importantly, how Softcat have helped our customers along that journey in order to build a FinOps model out. So what is FinOps? I mean, let's start with a very simple question. So it's basically a framework of best practices and principles designed for customers or users of the cloud, to keep track of their cloud spend. At the heart of it, it's all about making each individual team accountable for the amount they're spending in the cloud and reporting that back to a central FinOps team. Here at Softcat, we're getting a lot of requests coming in from our customers around FinOps, and this has meant that we've put a lot of time and resource into building out services and teams so that we can address some of those concerns. So let's jump into it, shall we? With the first question. So we'll keep it nice and broad, I guess, but nice and simple for the first question, Josh. So you work with customers around FinOps every day. What are some of the common challenges that you see with those customers?
Yeah, so for me, the key challenges that customers come to us with fit within 3 broad categories, being visibility, governance, and optimization within the cloud. Starting with visibility, that's all about just having clarity around your cloud bill, understanding where those costs within the public cloud platforms that you're using are coming from. I think there's a bit of a misconception at the moment. Maybe this is changing, that spinning up infrastructure within the cloud is going to be essentially a cheaper alternative to your traditional on-prem estate, which in some cases can be true, in specific cases where it's managed correctly as well. But a lot of the time, what we see with customers and the challenge they're facing is that they start spinning things up within the cloud without those proper guardrails in place. And that's where you get issues like lots of wasted spend, cloud sprawl, and really visibility is the key to that, is understanding where these costs are coming from within your business, and being able to report that back effectively. On the optimization side of things, we also see that there is a challenge at the moment with people not understanding the best approach to cost optimization within cloud. Almost everyone using cloud has access to recommendations of some kind, usually just through the native cloud platforms. But if you don't have a strong understanding of how to review those recommendations, understand what they're asking you to do, and then go and implement them, then you're going to end up not ever implementing any cost savings. And that's where you're going to end up with a large amount basically of wasted spend within your cloud bill. And that's much harder to then tackle further down the line than it is getting those optimization practices in early on. And lastly, just around that day-to-day governance piece. So again, with the move into cloud, it's more of a dive into an OpEx approach as opposed to CapEx would be traditionally on-prem. And that means a change in how you're day-to-day governing those environments. So thinking about things like budget management, thinking about tagging and naming conventions, and policies and guardrails. All these things are practices and principles that you need to understand and get into that. So that's a challenge as well that we're seeing customers talk about a lot at the moment.
Yeah, sure. Adam, around those points that Josh mentioned there, so mainly around visibility, optimization, and governance, what are we looking to do to address those issues with our customers?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we have a team of FinOps certified analysts. There's 7 of us now who use a industry-leading tool called Cloud Health, which is a VMware product. And they use a combination of their expertise with the data and the insights in the platform to be able to drive these points forward. So on the visibility side of things, so we ensure that all stakeholders with a vested interest in public cloud spend within an organization have accessible and timely reports. These reports might break out spend by cost or usage or performance. Sorry, that's the visibility side of things. Sorry, so optimization. So we break optimization out by commercial and technical optimization. So the commercial side of optimization is things like unit rates. So we're talking like reservations and savings plans. And we follow the FinOps framework here. The commercial optimization is generally covered from a centralized viewpoint. We also look at technical optimization. So that's things like your scheduling, your right sizing, re-architecting, and deleting unused resources. And that's done from a more decentralized point of view. So it's your technical owners, the product owners, application owners. All of those people are responsible for their subsections of the environment. So we're there really to make sure that all of those people have the information that they need to make the right decisions and understand the knock-on effect of making such cost optimizations. Finally, on the governance piece, so we tackle governance from a variety of angles. So we look at event-driven policies. So when certain events go the environment, so things like your spend might increase a lot, or you might have untagged resources or underutilized resources. All of these things that otherwise would need like human, that there's a human cost to monitoring these things. We just provide alerting to make sure the right people know what's happening here. So really a combination of all of these things make up our cloud intelligence service.
Great. I'm sure a lot of people that are attending this session today are either thinking of starting a cloud journey or on a cloud journey already, and could be at different points throughout that, and hopefully may now be thinking, I might need to adopt a FinOps model as well. What advice would you give, Josh, for anyone out there who's looking to adopt a strong FinOps model?
Sure. I think the first thing is that the earlier you're adopting these models and best practices, the better, really. So being able to get an understanding of FinOps and that model within your business practices right from day one of using cloud is obviously ideal. And that also includes having that FinOps team we've already kind of alluded to present within the business. So a FinOps team or integrated into Cloud Center of Excellence as well. That team should have representatives from all the relevant stakeholder areas. So you definitely need technical people there, these application owners, project owners, but also finance representatives and also procurement and places like that, and also senior sponsorship, so you can have a bit of enforcement when it comes to implementing these practices. And by having that team and that model in place from as early as possible, it gives you a better chance of really nailing the basics when it comes to those kind of best practices, thinking about tagging some of the right sizing elements and looking at wastage in the environment. And if you can get those basics right and monitored from that team from an early point, then you're in a really strong position moving forward as you grow into the cloud. I think it's also, as we know, it's key to have technical capability within the cloud, but I'd say I put a bit of emphasis on not just having capability around replicating a traditional infrastructure within the cloud, but also making use of some of the other technologies available, platform as a service, containerization, serverless technology, and some of these cloud native services. Firstly, they're a good way to modernize your approach to cloud and your infrastructure, but they also have knock-on FinOps benefits. So for lots of those services, the actual human workload of managing those can be smaller. It can be an easier day-to-day management process. And there are also hidden cost savings there as well. Sometimes it's just a more cost-effective thing to use some of those services as opposed to replicating traditional infrastructure. And last bit of key advice I'd say, and we've already mentioned it a few times, but nailing some of those key governance principles, tagging being the main one, having a really strong tagging standard within your environment from as early as possible so that you can identify key resources based on naming conventions that make sense within your business. So we see tag names, cost centers, environments, projects, but really it can be whatever makes logical sense for your business and your cloud strategy. Having a strong tagging strategy allows you to categorize your data much easier, build cost reporting, build internal cross-charging, and it's so useful for that internal FinOps team to be able to communicate and report back to those relevant stakeholders as well.
Yeah. No, great. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, good advice. Adam, do you have any specific cases of customers that we've worked with in the past or currently working with, and kind of some of the challenges that they faced or how we've helped them out?
So NHS Digital is my favorite example. So we've worked with NHS Digital from a public cloud and from a FinOps point of view for about 3 years now. But their relationship with Softcat massively predates that. But we were there from the inception of their Cloud Center of Excellence. So that's been really, really cool to see that grow from being about 3 people who were sort of just learning what the Cloud Center of Excellence was, and learning like FinOps wasn't even like a known thing in the UK at that point. See how that's grown over the last 3 years. So that's been really cool. So we've been able to save them a lot of money through the technical and commercial elements of cost optimization. And then beyond that, the customer has expressed real delight with the peace of mind they get from working with Softcat. So not just having access to the FinOps resources in my team, but we're backed up by really great solutions architects, strategists, and various cloud consultants. Over the last few years, they come to us all the time with ad hoc queries. So looking to try new things, looking to decide on direction and strategy. And it's just really useful for them to have someone that they can come to bounce those ideas off and just check that they're heading in the right direction. And if not, what is the right direction?
Sure. Was there anything that was very specific to them around like challenges, like any specific challenges that they faced?
So a few challenges, like sort of specific. So the first one being just the sheer size of the organization. So NHS Digital is made up of lots of smaller organizations, and they're there to service the rest of the NHS from a digital point of view. With that comes the challenge of communication from lots of groups that are used to working kind of more siloed. So one thing we've been able to do to help their COE with improving that communication is we host a monthly cloud service review, where we'll talk to them about their spend. We'll identify trends in different parts of the organization where spend's going up, where spend's going down, and how they're realizing various cost optimizations. We talk about really any other work that we're doing with them at that point in time. But beyond that, it also gives the customer and like the stakeholders within the organization a forum to come and talk about successes, challenges. And it just gets people talking who otherwise wouldn't be communicating, and lots comes from that. Beyond that, another challenge that was fairly unique to digital, although I guess it's kind of common across some other public sector organisations, is that they had a really long sign-off process for getting commitments like reserved instances and like savings plans through. And although this served a purpose at the time, because there's a lot of money we're talking about committing to here, and it's public money, so they have to go through the right processes. But what we found was that they were actually losing a lot in terms of potential savings in that period. So we kind of redesigned the sign-off process for them. So we now support them with the qualification of these commitments, speak with people across the organisation, and try to understand whether they're expecting their footprint to grow or to decrease. We take that information back, and then we do an education piece to the non-technical people that need to sign off on this, so people from commercial finance and procurement, and we educate them on what it means to make these commitments. Then we talk about the specific opportunity for each commitment, so how much they're able to save, and we give them loads of data to back that up, and then we talk about the risk and how to mitigate that risk. And then once they've made the commitment, if they decide that it's the right thing to do, you then end up with several commitments that last up anywhere between 1 year and 3 years. And you have to be able to track those commitments, make sure when they're expiring, you know whether to renew them, maybe renew with a slightly different value, or not renew at all if that's the right decision. So we alert them when there's renewals coming up and make sure that they have all the information to make the decision as to what's next from there. So those are a couple of the sort of more unique challenges we faced and how we've addressed those.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's it's really interesting to hear, but hear a case that's a bit more specific, and how Softcat have helped out. I guess every kind of FinOps journey is unique to that particular organization, and I guess generally, one of the benefits of the cloud is that you can build it uniquely for your organization and achieve the goals that you're looking to achieve. I know earlier Dean mentioned about multi-cloud and how popular it's becoming for organizations to move to multi-cloud. Josh, is there any challenges specific to multi-cloud that when it comes to FinOps?
Yeah, there definitely is. And as you say, multi-cloud, it's an approach that many more people are taking, and we're seeing these days. And as you say, you can leverage the benefits of each of those key cloud platforms to achieve what you're aiming for out of your cloud strategy in a more effective way. But from a FinOps perspective, that does throw together a few more challenges. In terms of technical capability, it's key to have people who are able to action recommendations within each of those key platforms and implement some of the governance practices that Adam's been telling us about. So it's key to have those people there. But even more essential than that, I'd say, is having that centralized tooling, that place you can go to aggregate the key data within those clouds, specifically around cost and usage. And that's going to be your central place for reporting. If you start to have different elements of reporting and visibility for each of those different platforms, then you're not going to be able to have that as one singular cloud strategy. Another thing I'd emphasize around multi-cloud is when you have that FinOps team in place who are enforcing those best practices within the different technical teams, it's even more essential that they're communicating with those relevant stakeholders across those different teams. What you can often find with multi-cloud is that there could be a strong FinOps posture with one and loads of work happening, and then not in the other platforms you're using. Example, you've got a platform in AWS and an environment in Azure. If you spend loads of time focusing on FinOps within AWS, building in reservations, savings plans, right-sizing the environment, but actually you're not focusing on Azure and letting Azure scale, then overall you're still spending more money within the cloud. So it's key that centralized FinOps team is communicating well with both of those stakeholder units, and making sure that they're implementing those practices at the same time, even though day to day it might be slightly different in terms of operations. I think also it's key that centralized team has a really strong understanding of the strategic reasons that you're using each of those clouds, because that is going to impact you on a day-to-day FinOps basis. Understanding what the purpose of each of those cloud platforms are, how you're recommending things to change, whether things are going to be static, whether things are going to be scaling, how you're reporting back on these things, what kind of data is important based on the strategy within those clouds, is absolutely key. So it's essential they understand what the strategy is for using both of those clouds or more. And lastly, I'd say don't fall into the trap of building separate governance processes for each of those clouds. I've sort of alluded to it already, but it can be really simple because the clouds operate slightly differently. There's different names for different things. It can be easy to fall into the trap of just building a separate governance process or a separate governance team. Make sure you're using one governance framework and using all these FinOps best practices managed from that centralized team for all of your clouds, and just don't fall into the trap of managing them separately. In terms of multi-cloud, those are definitely the things we're working on.
Yeah, cool. I'm just so as we kind of look to bring this session to a close, I think it'd be really good if we can just give kind of a summary for everyone here today. Adam, what would you recommend as kind of like a first step?
So from my point of view, it's just get the basics right from day one. So don't wait until you're spending tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands in public cloud to start thinking about building a FinOps team. How you're going to optimize, what your tags should look like, and what the business drivers for using the cloud are. So figure all of that stuff out on day one, and it'll be a lot easier to grow in the right way moving forward.
Yeah. Anything to add, Josh?
I think getting proper governance and cost control in place can be a really difficult and daunting task, and one that takes a lot of time and resource, especially if you're already within those key cloud platforms. So I'd just say it's not something that needs to be done alone. I'd definitely say make use of the resource that the cloud vendors make available. And there's also a partner network that's available for you as well, and vendors that are experts in all these different areas. I'll reference our cloud intelligence service again, which is our service we've been running for many years now, supporting customers on this FinOps journey, we're giving customers the right tooling with the cloud platform to review their multi-cloud data, and we're aligning these FinOps experts to help them on their journey and to solve their challenges. And as we've discussed, it's one we've seen loads of success with.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it kind of leads on quite nicely to the final point. We are here with partners and vendors today in the other room. So if you do have any other follow-up questions after this session, please come and grab us in there and ask away. And also, remember to submit your questions on Slido as well.
Also, the next session I think is changed to be downstairs now.
You're right. Yeah. Next session is not in this room anymore.
Digital marketplace.
It's now downstairs. So if you're looking to join that session,
we're told to pass
downstairs. Yeah. But thanks for joining everyone, and we look forward to talking to you.